Hey guys, it is Pastor Yummy, and we are on Genesis chapter 4 today. We are going through the book of Genesis in 1 year, taking our time. So this is the fourth week. So we're going to head right into Genesis 4 and talk about Cain and Abel. Here we go. Dear God, thank you for your goodness. Thank you for your love, for your word, Lord. Open our eyes to these truths we find in your word. So, here we go, diving right into the text. I'm going to be reading from the NIV, New International Version. Starts like this. Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain, the firstborn son on this earth, isn't it? So she said, with the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man. Later, she gave birth to his brother Abel. So she is very excited. With the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man. Now, she, gave birth to Cain. And so it's interesting, the name Cain can mean almost like a proclamation, like here he is, like this is it, and so that's what she and Adam named him. It could be that they were thinking because of chapter 3 when it says that the seed of the woman will crush the seed of the serpent. They could have been thinking, I would have been thinking, well, here it is, this is who was promised. She had this was the first child ever to be born, so she wasn't sure. Little did she know it would be a couple of thousand years before the Messiah came, but she was very excited about her little boy, Cain. So then later, she gave birth to his brother, Abel. Some have brought it up, even as we were talking about this with our group, that perhaps Cain and Abel were twins. It doesn't say. I think that is not the case. That's only my opinion. So this is the kind of information that it's really hard to tell from the text. I'm thinking not. We could dive, maybe a deep dive into that word later. She gave birth to his brother Abel. But I think as I just looked into this a little bit, really most people think they were not twins, but we can't rule it out. So when we get to heaven, we will ask Cain and Abel, were you guys twins? We'll know at some time. So let's keep going. Now, Abel kept flocks and Cain worked the soil. So they had one in the field, the other, one with the animals, one with the plants. So it seems pretty good so far. Verse 3, in the course of time, Cain brought some of the first fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So why is this? Why do you think? Some people can surmise, well, it's because Abel, offered a blood sacrifice. This system does not seem to be in place at this time, so would that really matter? My first thought is God looks at the heart, and obviously something wasn't right with Cain's heart. But let me look here. We do have another clue. Okay, so this other clue is really found in the New Testament. So let's look at Hebrews 11:4, and that says, by faith, Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith, he was commended as righteous when God spoke well of his offerings. And by faith, Abel still speaks even though he is dead. So that, I believe, gives us, the answer that Abel gave this sacrifice in faith and Cain did not. And so, of course, as we know, without faith, it is impossible to please God. So I think that is the answer, and it always goes back to the heart. God looks at the heart, and we're going to see more in just a second here about Cain's heart. Let's see what was wrong with him. Okay, then verse 5, it says, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. So isn't that something that a lot of times, our heart, sometimes we see it in our face. Some people more than others. Some people, it says, well, you wear your heart on your sleeve, or you can tell someone's upset because they just show it, in their face. So apparently Cain did. He was very downcast, and it was evident, just by his face. Then the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? So he was confronting him with this. And of course, the Lord knew why he was angry, but he's asking Cain. Sometimes we ask people, children, students, our spouse, sometimes we may ask a leading question. It doesn't mean because we don't know the answer, but because to help the other person, process what's going on. So then God says, if you do what is right, will you not be accepted? So God is challenging him, just do what is right, and I will accept your offering. So what did Cain do? He could have repented and said, yeah, I'm jealous of my brother. I'm the one, because his name is Cain. Here I am, so maybe all his life he's thinking, maybe he was even raised that way. We don't know. Some parents do that, raise a child like they are, sometimes it's the firstborn. Speaking as a fifth-born child, think I would know that. But well, actually, okay, I'm my mother's fifth and my dad's first. So maybe I had a little bit of that first child syndrome in me. But anyway, so where am I here? Getting lost. Okay, so if you do what is right, will you not be accepted? And just challenging him. Well, what else did God say? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. So what a passage. I love this passage. But if you're going to choose, it's about our choice too, a lot. It says, if you choose, if you do not do what is right, sin is right there. It says crouching, crouching at the door. It's like about ready to pounce, on you, like a bobcat or something. It's right there, about ready to pounce. It desires to have you. Now, the same word desire is used in the curse for Eve towards her husband. Your desire will be for your husband. A strong yearning, a strong yearning for something. Okay, so, and then it's saying sin is this, sin are really I would say sin is not an entity, but when it says sin is crouching at your door, I think that can speak of Satan, because Satan is to kill, steal, and destroy, and Satan and his minions tempt us. And when there's an opening, Satan is right there. When we have bitterness or whatever, jealousy, these bad feelings in our heart starting to develop, then Satan is right there. He sees the opening and desires strongly to go in and not give you comfort, and not to give you, it may give you temporary comfort, but it's really to harm you. And so, but Satan is going to be there, or even our own human, we have a human will, is going to be there. and tempting us yeah, okay, that feels good. I'm just going to do that. So sin is right there. And especially this, I know this about temptation, is when there's that opening, when the powers that shouldn't be, when the Satan and his minions, when they sense that opening, they'll go in, so they're going to go in for the kill, to go in to give you that temptation you cannot resist. So, but what's the next line? But you must rule over it. So it's saying, you must do that. Now, we depend on God, and we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, but also we do have a will, and we can will to rule over these things. And Cain could have done that. He could have said, yeah, I'm very mad, I'm jealous, I don't understand what's going on, but I'm going to trust God, and I'm going to get my heart right and give God a sacrifice from my heart, a sacrifice that in faith. He didn't do that. That door was open, the enemy came right in, and he took that. He took the bait, because it is bait. It was something that, like to a fish, right? That little worm, there's a hook under it, but that little worm looks really good. And that first bite's like, oh yeah, I really have what I want. Then what happens? The hook gets in there, and you can't get the hook out, and the fish is captured. I think that's a good picture of how sin captures us. Excuse me. Let's go on. Now, let's see what Cain said in verse 8. Now, Cain said to his brother, let's go out to the field. So he's like, yeah, come on, brother, let's go out here to the field. So whatever he's going to do, it's premeditated, right? He's like, yeah, come on out here, brother. While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, where's your brother Abel? I don't know, he said. Am I my brother's keeper? That famous line we like to repeat a lot. Am I my brother's keeper? Well, yes, in some respects we are our brother's keeper, aren't we? But anyway, Cain had a lot of nerve. He did. I think we're just beginning to see every line. We just see more and more of his heart, that his heart was not right. So the Lord said, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opens its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. Verse 12, when you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth. So Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is more than I can bear. So does that sound like repentance? No, but that sounds like somebody that is very concerned about themselves and their own comforts, right? So he's not repenting, but he's like, I can't handle the punishment. He says, today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. Now, I think that was very interesting that he recognized that I will be hidden from your presence, that even though he wasn't right with the Lord, even though he was making these bad choices, he knew that the presence of God was good, that even gave him comfort. And he realized God was turning his back, so to speak, on him. And he realized that is more than he could bear. And he goes on to say, I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. But the Lord said to him, not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over. So the Lord had mercy on him. Then the Lord put a mark on Cain, so that no one who found him would kill him. So, people speculate, what is the mark? What is that mark? And we don't know. It's another thing, we just really don't know. So Cain went out from the Lord's presence. That went out from the Lord's presence. That is a difficult thing. And lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Okay. So lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. So at this time, I think, that Adam and Eve had populated the earth, and at this time before Cain killed Abel. It's not like Cain killed Abel and there was no other people, because he's going out to another land and he's talking about whoever finds me, like there's more people out there, is gonna kill him. So to me, that's evidence that that some generations, several years have gone by, and that there's more people, a lot more people on the earth. Then it says Cain made love to his wife. Again, he does have a wife. She became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. And you're maybe thinking Enoch, like this is the good Enoch, who walked with God and then God took him, but this is a different Enoch. Well, in the next chapter, we're going to hear about I'll call him the good Enoch. Cain was then building a city. He named it after his son Enoch. So he built a city called Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, to Irad, and Irad was the father of Mehujael. Mehujael was the father of Methuselah. Methuselah was the father of Lamech. He's another character here. Lamech married two women. So the first polygamous, one named Ada and the other Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who live in tents and raise livestock. So when it says the father of, it means like the inventor, sort of the inventor of those who live in tents, and raise livestock, it says. His brother's name was Jubal, and he was the father, like almost the inventor of all who play stringed instruments and pipes. So at this time, these instruments were developed. Zillah also had a son, Tubal-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. Now, Lamech said to his wife, Ada and Zillah, listen to me, wives of Lamech. Hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for injuring me. If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times. So he is, pretty arrogant there. He's like, well, if Cain has this mark and he's going to be avenged 7 times, then we're talking 70 times 7 for me, because I hurt this person, tried to injure me, and I killed him. But nothing's going to happen to me. So he's just, again, we're just seeing the sin, this it's like a cancer taking hold in one generation, and it's just even expanding now exponentially. So Adam made love to his wife again, and she gave birth to a son and named him Seth, saying, God has granted me another child in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. Seth also had a son and named him Enosh. So now when it says Adam made love to his wife again, and then Seth is born, that doesn't mean no other children were born in between this. It's just, this is what happens in this kind of narrative, is that it is just mentioning the characters that are going to be important for the story. And so we're going to talk about Seth and the line of Seth, and and so that is sort of the direction. So we're going to really focus on Seth. Seth is going to be like the godly line that comes from Adam and Eve, as opposed from Cain, because, that wasn't good, what happened there. So granted me another child in place of Abel. Seth also had a son and named him Enosh. And so we're going to hear in chapter 5, it's going to be about genealogies, but there are some interesting things, even through the genealogies. I know some people want to skip over them because it's so-and-so begot so-and-so, but there are some interesting things. So we're going to, chapter 5 is not going to be terrible, even though it is genealogy. So now, then I do like this last verse. It says, at that time, people began to call on the name of the Lord. So at that time, hearts, the Holy Spirit's doing some work. Hearts are being turned back to the Lord. And we're going to see that with these Sethites. What happens with these people that came from the line of Seth. We're going to see hearts turn back to the Lord. And then we're going to contrast that with hearts that are very much not turned to the Lord. So it's going to be interesting. Okay, guys, we are going to keep it short, nice and short and sweet today. You guys have a great week. I'm going to be back with you next week on Genesis chapter 5. So God bless you, and let me know in the comments where you are watching from. Like and subscribe if you haven't. That really helps us. Appreciate that. And I hope to see some of you this weekend as we meet together in person here in Weston, Missouri. Thank you, and God bless you.